WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station.
Fall is the perfect time to replace that old inefficient beast in your basement with an American-made, Energy Star certified Peerless boiler. Don't wait until you have no heat and it becomes an emergency. A Peerless boiler can heat any home, condo, apartment, office, or dorm room. Start conserving precious natural resources. Go green, get green, stay green. Peerless, the undisputed world leader of 90% plus efficient boilers. Visit peerlessboilers.com and get that beast out of your basement. And remember, folks, Peerless builds America's best boilers. 11:36 main event. Gelb and Chase here with you, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. Big Five action tonight at the Leah Cora Center, so let's go out to the hotlines right now and welcome in former Temple Owl and the current color analyst for TU Hoops, along with Harry Donahue, and that's our good buddy, John Baum. John, it's Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. here in Philly. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zach, and Chase, I'm doing great, guys. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, and we appreciate you joining us for a few minutes today. And even though I am from New York, my dad did go to Villanova, and I know that may not play well along the folks here at Temple University, but some of my favorite memories as a child was the bedtime stories that I would hear of him talking about the Big Five matchups when he got to experience it here covering the Villanova basketball team. It's a Big Five matchup tonight, Temple and St. Joe's. What do you remember about the Big Five? Because I know that back in your day, they used to throw toilet paper and confetti all on the court after your team scored the first point.
Nothing like it in the country at that time. You're having 5 schools playing each other at least once. When they played at the one spot, that was the Palestra, whereas today they're playing at all the individual schools. But it was so unique at that time. It was nothing like it in the country. And, yeah, you're right. After the first basket was scored by each team, each fan base would throw confetti, toilet paper, anything that they could find that would enter the court, screaming down onto the court. So it was just a special moment, and I have fond memories of playing in the Big Five.
So going to this Temple team this year, when I enter the season, I know they're a young group, and they only have one true senior that's playing on the roster in Dalton Pepper. The 2 C's I looked at for this team were confidence and consistency. This team started off 1-3, then they ended off the Charleston Classic very strong, getting 2 wins and putting them back up on that 500 mark. After seeing the way they played in the Charleston Classic, are you getting a little bit more confidence in this Temple team?
Well, I'm really impressed with how the guys are coming together, largely from the results of the 3 tri-captains on this ball club. Dalton Pepper,
Will Cummings?
Will Cummings and
Dalton?
Anthony Lee.
Okay.
So those are the 3 guys that have really stepped up during the tournament. Anthony Lee almost averaging a double-double. Dalton Pepper getting his highest scoring game in his college collegiate career with 24 points in the last game. And Will Cummings, he's just running the team at the point guard as well as I've ever seen him run the team. So, yeah, they're playing. I'm encouraged. Coach Dunphy is encouraged, and we're just hoping that it continues.
Former Temple Owl legend John Baum joins us on the hotline, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. John, it's Chase. Will Cummings is having a fantastic year up to date. He's averaging 18.2 points per game, 4 assists, and just under 4 rebounds. Last year and in his freshman year, the offense didn't really evolve around him with Khalif Wyatt on the floor, and he didn't see too many scoring opportunities, but that is not the case this year. Fran Duffy has given him a plethora of scoring opportunities, and he's really taking off with the duties of being the leader of this team. What have you seen from Cummings, and how impressed have you been with the junior point guard's performance?
Really impressed with the fact that he's returned to his roots when he was playing high school basketball in Florida, where he was a scorer as well as a facilitator. Last year, as you pointed out, we had so many great scorers in that team. His role was pretty much to pass the basketball and let the other guys score. This year, those guys are gone. We lost 5 great players from last year's team. So this year, he's the guy that's needed to not only facilitate the other guys, but also he needs to score the ball as well, and he's just doing a great job of that. As you point out, averaging over 18 points per ball game, and and they're big shots. You know, there's no bigger shot than he hit that last shot at the buzzer against Georgia.
Right. Another guy who stepped up immensely from a year ago is Dalton Pepper. You know, he's a 2,000-point scorer at Pennsbury High School. He goes to West Virginia and is a part of that Final Four run down there with Bob Huggins. Comes to Temple. Last year, he didn't seem to have that confidence, but now this year, with getting consistent minutes, that confidence has increased a lot. He's averaging 16 points a game and just under 6 rebounds. That confidence is there, and that's what is key with Dalton Pepper. What have you seen from him on the floor, the big difference from a year ago until now?
Well, the maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he's playing averaging 34 minutes per ball game, in addition to the scoring, as you pointed out. But I see the maturity, and I spoke with Dalton before the season started, and I said, you're the lone senior on this ball club. You're very important to this team in the locker room. You must show leadership, and I think he's doing that right now.
Let's get to Anthony Lee. He's been averaging pretty much a double-double throughout the course of this season. He's looked very strong, but he has gotten into foul trouble, especially into the first half, where it looks like he's picking up 2 fouls consistently. Tonight you go up against Kanasevic and Roberts Jr., 2 excellent big men for St. Joe's in this Big Five matchup. How important is it that Anthony Lee stays out of foul trouble tonight?
He must stay on the floor. He's only averaging, of the starters, he has the fewest average minutes. He's averaging 28 minutes per ball game. And he needs to stay on the floor. He's our strength inside, and when you look at those 2 guys that you point out, boy, Roberts and Kanasevic, those guys are just tough attacking the basket. They want to get to the basket. They're not looking at shooting jump shots, especially Roberts. He wants to be 5 feet in, and he wants to dunk on you. So he's going to be important to stay on the floor and stay in the game. And if he's in the game and his shot blocking ability, I think it's going to make a big difference for the Owls and how St. Joe's will try to attack the basket.
Let's say if Lee does pick up a few fouls early, do you have the confidence in a Mark Williams at this young age, or even a Jimmy McDonald who's been thrown into the starting role the last 2 games, to go out there and be able to stick with Kanasevic or Roberts Jr., or is it just that Lee has to stay out of foul trouble tonight?
Well, to be honest with you, we really need Lee out of foul trouble. But if, in fact, he does get into foul trouble, Mark Williams, the young freshman, doing a nice job. He's averaging, for a freshman, he's averaging almost 25 minutes a ball game coming off the bench now. And he's a big, wide body. I think he can match up at 6'8". He can match up pretty well against Roberts. Roberts has the experience as a senior, but I think Mark Williams is going to do a nice job if he has to face him, largely because he matches up with him strength for strength.
Down there in South Carolina, Jimmy McDonald got the final starts in the final 2 games of that tournament. He didn't really produce many points. He gives Temple just a little bit more size in the front court. Did you notice a glaring difference in Jimmy McDonald being in the starting lineup that helped Temple propel to those 2 victories?
I think so. I think what Jimmy gives the ball club, he's the hardest worker in practice. That's why Fran Duffy decided to start him a few games ago. He works hard. He deserves the opportunity to play. He's a junior, so Fran felt that, hey, let's put him out there, and the guys are rallying around him. They realize that he's been working hard. So I've noticed in the past 2 games that he started, the guys have been playing with a lot more energy. They're playing better defense. And when you have a guy, Jimmy McDonald, I always tell guys, you can't teach height.
Right.
Jimmy McDonald was 6'10". That's pretty good. So when you have opponents, they right now, they'll say Temple starting their front line of 6'9", 6'10", and 6'5". You know, that gives them something to think about versus a smaller lineup. So I think Jimmy has been a real plus for the team, and Fran Dunphy's really happy with his performance.
John, you've been around this team for so many years, and you've seen a lot of successful seasons with the Temple Owls. Fran Dunphy has made it to 6 straight NCAA tournaments, and this year he's faced with a roster that doesn't have a lot of experience. You mentioned a couple minutes ago Dalton Pepper is the only senior on this ball club. Is it fair to say this could be one of Fran Dunphy's most challenging years in his coaching career?
I think so. I had a chance to speak with Coach Cheney. Many times I've spoken with Coach Cheney, but he has the great Hall of Famer. He always says his most challenging time and his most pleasing year was the first year when he went, I believe, under 500.
Right.
But he took the team to heights that many people didn't think they would reach because they thought they were on the rebuilding year. This year, I call this a retooling year for Fran Dunphy, and I think he's going to do it. He's a great coach, as we all know. And that's the challenge, but great coaches, as great players, they welcome challenges, and I think Fran is welcoming this challenge, and I think he can get it done.
John Baum joins us on the hotline. A few more questions with him, the former Temple Owl player, now the current color analyst for the team with Harry Donahue. Always great stuff listening to the two of them call games. Let's get to Quinton DeCozy. He's been a player that, he hasn't been playing bad. He's averaging about 15 points per game, but they come in stretches. You would like to see him be a little bit more aggressive. How do you get a player in his second year who didn't really see a lot of minutes in his first year continue to play consistently throughout the course of the whole game?
Well, it's all about confidence in himself. Right now, he last year, as you point out, didn't play very many minutes. He just sat there. he has to realize that Coach Dunphy and the team relies upon him playing well. You notice when he plays well, the team normally wins. So he just has to realize that he can play at this level pretty much against anyone. He proved that last year in the Duke game where he played just so well. So I think it's just with Quentin DeCozy, it's just a matter of confidence. I believe he's the most skilled player on this team in terms of just natural ability. He just has to realize that he can do that on a consistent basis. And when he does, look out.
We talked about one of the freshmen, and that was Mark Williams. Now let's get to the other, and Josh Brown comes from a prestigious program in St. Anthony's, coached by the legendary Hall of Famer Bob Hurley. He hasn't been getting a whole lot of minutes, but we've seen him in some times this year compared to the normal freshman that Fran Dunphy brings in. What's impressed you the most out of Josh Brown so far?
I like his savviness on the court. For a young guy, freshman, he has some maturity, and that comes from playing high school in Jersey. And I think with Josh, the one thing that I would like to see, he's not distributing the ball well enough for me. I think he maybe has 5 assists on the year. You know, he's the point guard. He's the distributor. He has to learn how to find the guys in the right spots on the floor and distribute the basketball. And I think that'll come. But for Josh, his biggest strength for this ball club is to get assists and really run the floor, run the team when Will Cummings is not out there on the floor.
John, Daniel Dingle was a highly touted recruit coming out of the Bronx 2 years ago. He's got good size at 6'7", 230 pounds. He's a combo guard forward, and he can do it all when he's on his game. What do you think's been holding him back from breaking out, though, because he's struggled in some stretches so far this year?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that we have with young players, such as we talked about with Quentin DeCozy. Daniel Dingle is an outstanding basketball player. He has the size, he has the strength, he can go outside, he can go inside. He just has to get the confidence to realize that this team needs him. Many times when you have young players, when they don't get many minutes, they feel that they have to get it done all at one time. And then if they miss a shot, they're looking over their shoulder to see whether or not the coach is going to pull him out of the game. Once he feels that he's going to be out there, irrespective of what he does, and I think he's going to do well, he'll be fine. But right now he's just struggling. But when he forgets about that and looking over his shoulder, he plays really good basketball. I really like his game. I like the ability that he can shoot the outside shot. He can shoot the three as well as go inside.
Team this year is the 3-3. They got to have a tough task this week. Go up against St. Joe's tonight. Big 5 atmosphere at the Liacouras Center. And then on Saturday they play at the Wells Fargo up against a 7-1 Texas squad. And Temple actually has a former Texas player on their roster, although he's not playing this year, in Jalen Bond. Can that experience, being so fresh and being familiar with that Texas program about a year ago, can that help the Owls on Saturday?
I think a little bit. You know, whenever you have a player that played for another team and now they're going to face that same team, that player can bring some insight to your team in practice. But for the most part, it really comes down to what the assistant coaches scout, how they scout the team, because this Texas team is a little bit different from last year's Texas team when he was there. I did see Texas this week when I think last week they played. It's a different ball club. So I think it's going to help a little bit with Jalen Bond knows about this ball club, but it's really going to come down to X's and O's and executing, and Fran Dunphy and the assistant coaches they're going to do a good job of getting that done.
John, last one from me here. St. Joe's returns a lot of players from last year. Langston Galloway is a do-it-all guard. Ronald Roberts is just a beast down low. He's very athletic, and Halil Kenesevich can really do a lot. He's a versatile forward. How do you see things playing out tonight? Because you have a very experienced St. Joe's team led by those 3 seniors against a pretty inexperienced Temple team.
Well, the big thing that I see it is the fact this is a Big 5 game. This is a real rivalry. As we know, Temple, this will be the 156th meeting between these two teams.
Yep.
So, you know, the most in any Big 5 school. And, you know, this is something, even when I was playing, I look forward to the St. Joe game. And I think if the coaches and the players get that instilled in the minds of these guys, look, we've played this team 156 times. We won 88 of those games. We won the last 4 games in our building. However, we lost the last 2 games in their building. We need to keep that streak going, and we go out there, we must win this basketball game. Right now, we're on a high, they're on a high. It's just going to be a matter of who wants the game the most, and I believe that it's going to be in our favor because the guys are just playing really well. And we haven't played well at home, as you know. The last couple of games haven't been pretty exciting. But I think they're ready to break out of that now and have a big game tonight against the Hawks.
On the way out here, as John Baum joins us, looking at college basketball from a national perspective. I know Kansas lost to Villanova on that Arcidiacono shot, but Wiggins has looked sensational this year. Parker with Duke has been a stud. He's going to be a top pick in this year's NBA draft. And then you also have Julius Randle at Kentucky. Have you ever seen three players really like that in college basketball? Because all three of those guys, they're going to be in some order 1, 2, and 3 in this year's NBA draft.
Well, no. To be honest with you, the closest that I've seen that, and that was right here. That was during my senior year, and we had Howard Porter at Villanova and Kenny Durrett at LaSalle. They were both coming in. They couldn't play. They were both top, highly heralded players and nationally recognized players. And that was the last time I saw anything like this, but to have three national players come in with their abilities, it's pretty exciting. And, you know, but I'm from the old school. They have to show me what they can do. And I think high school is great, but we still have a number of collegiate games that they have to establish themselves. But I can tell you, Parker, I like his game.
John, we appreciate a few minutes today. We'll see you tonight at the Liacouras Center for a Big 5 matchup, St. Joe's and Temple. Enjoy the call, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Absolutely. My pleasure. You guys take care.
You too. John Baum right there on the hotline, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. 215-204-9449 is the number if you want to hop on board with us. We got 9 minutes left in the show. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back here to wrap things up on Philly.